Every few videos, I try to take an opportunity to talk about my own long-term struggles with mental illness. I've mentioned before that, I've struggled with post-traumatic stress disorder and clinical depression for most of my life. Snowed in today in New York, and anybody who has experienced clinical depression before, especially in the winter when you're snowed in, unfortunately, that is when the beast feeds. On a regular day, I don't know if it applies to everybody, but for me, on a regular day, I can go out for a walk and sort of get away from my own brain, get out into the world and be around other humans and feel the warmth of their presence. At the very least, the time indoors helps me to work up to sadness. I think that when people perceive depression, and maybe this is only when depression is connected to post-traumatic stress disorder, but for me, crying is extremely difficult. The traumas that happened during my childhood led to an emotional state in which you cease to be able to cry anymore when you feel pain, which is probably the worst thing you can do when you suffer these problems is not feel your way through things. Feel your way through to the other side of crying, because of the importance of catharsis. But yeah, if you speak to most people who have clinical depression, they will tell you that numbness is the default of depression. I was very difficult to get out of the bed today. I was paralyzed, struggling to just stuck in neutral. And so once I actually got the strength to get in gear, I made myself a nice strong pot of black coffee, because coffee at least will serve as a stimulant, so that I can at least, in the winter when you have to warm your car up in order to get it to turn on. For me, caffeine can serve as sort of that warming of the hi Zorro, I'm still mastering this angling. Oh, see, that's my buddy right there. Where so caffeine helps me to get my engine started, and I put on a little music to get myself to a more constructive place emotionally so that I could feel. That is the hardest part of depression, is that you cannot feel. or that you only feel pain. I think that people sort of perceive the substance abuse related to depression to always have something to do with alleviating pain. But for me, substances like caffeine, alcohol, nicotine. I want to apologize to my girlfriend because I'm supposed to be working on quitting, but this is me actively fucking up because I needed help. I needed help to feel something. I know this is a ramble, but most of my videos are rambles, especially the ones that are personal like this, because I don't have the tether of politics, my knowledge of politics to insulate me from having to be frank about how I feel and who I am and who I am in my day-to-day life. I've never been a big fan of doing personal vlogs, not because there's anything wrong with them, but for me, I'm still on that journey in psychotherapy to really understand who I am outside of how I present myself to other people. Not to say that how I present myself to other people is completely disingenuous, but I do keep myself often in that zone of just enough politeness, just enough polite interactions. I'm like a master of waiting room friendships, I think, which made me, when I was younger, I worked as a doorman. It made me a very good doorman, that I was a master of the slightly deeper than skin cordial interaction. Getting access to myself, getting past that wall, the numbness, the numbness that becomes an armor when you are traumatized as a child. Penetrating through that is extremely difficult, and I think that it's not coincidental that I am an online polemicist, because when you're depressed and feeling disconnected from yourself, anger is sometimes the only thing that actually comes through. It's the only thing that's strong enough to break through that horrible numbness. Sometimes the only thing that keeps my anger from becoming sort of as anti-people as someone like Amazing Atheist is that I usually direct my anger at injustice, at something in the world that I think is intrinsically unfair. There are some natural antidepressants that can help you get through the day when you're sort of locked up like this. I think that this guy back here, Zorro, reminds me of this pure affection, this pure connection between living beings that's not premised upon anything but you're both alive and you're both sharing this thing together. I remember that I'm old enough to remember the time in New York right after 9/11 where people were brought together by this sense of melancholy, but also kind of we recognized mutual humanity. We recognized that we were all in this together. Even if it was just for a few moments, it's really kind of I still feel morally insecure about that having been an incredibly comfortable moment in my life, to walk outside into a world of a bunch of other people in mourning. Because when you suffer from depression, especially as long-term as I have, your life is spent in perpetual grieving. It's the first and last emotion that I can ever remember feeling, particularly, as a small child, was grief. As though I had lost something. I wasn't sure what it was. It was something that I guess I was born with, and then it was just broken off in the war of my parents' marriage. My sister and I were casualties. And we both struggle to this day with the same emotional struggles that anybody that comes out of a traumatic warlike situation has. The depersonalization, the triggering, the hard to find emotional compass. Not moral compass. My moral compass works pretty well. But knowing how I feel is one of the biggest obstacles of day-to-day life. I love the spring because I can sit outside. Because I work overnights, I can sit alone in a park and really feel stuff. Access myself, really just kind of sit there in almost sort of like a meditative state. Let my own feelings speak. So I guess, aside from talking about my own problems with it, I would like to submit for the consideration of anyone who's struggling with depression and trauma is to just kind of take time that's just for you. Find peace in situations where you are confined with yourself. I know that it seems very scary. It's almost inherently scary to be alone with your thoughts when so many of your memories are painful. But after you cry and grieve, I know the internet is very anti-self-pity, but the best thing that's ever worked for me is learning to feel compassion for myself. That's what mindfulness and meditation, all that stuff has brought me, is the capacity in a moment like this where I am locked in here and literally to find compassion and to cry and let out feelings of concern for my own pain. So that's just a ramble. Thank you for helping me get off my chest all that stuff that I probably would have taken to a therapist if it was possible. And take time. Take time to take care of yourself. And then you'll have the resources to get out there in the world and take care of others. Because they need you. A lot of people need you.